Okay, so we are now live on YouTube at the moment. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Express channel. Today we have interview with some nurses, and they are going for different positions. So we have those that are going for the general nurse position. We have those going for speech and language assistants or clinical support work. We have those going for nurses as gastroenterology, and we have those going for ophthalmology nursing. And I believe we still have others yet with us, although they came late. So I'm not going to ask you your position. I will assume that your position is among the ones that we have listed here. So that's your punishment for coming late. Anyway, let's start. So, when you want to prepare for an interview, can someone tell me your knowledge on how you can prepare for an interview? Anybody can say anything, or anybody can speak before I start calling names. If I feel like you guys are not responding, I'll have to start calling names. So, what do you know about preparing for interview? Okay, now I think I'll call him. So, we have Miss Victoria. Could you please tell me what you know about interview preparation or having an interview? Right. Please, we need to speak so that this interview will flow very well. You understand? If not, there's no point of having an interview if you can't speak. That's number one criteria. You need to know how to speak in an interview. You need to know how to sell yourself. Actually, in an interview, you are like a marketer, but you're not marketing a product now. You are marketing yourself because you want them to take you or to buy you. I won't use the word buy, but let's use to buy your service, and the service is you. That's what an interview is. So please, can someone tell me their knowledge of preparation for an interview? We have Miss Happiness, we have um Mr. Bonnie, Miss Beauty, anybody that is here, can you speak, please? Thank you. So we could move to the next question.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Robinson Emanete Bonnie. Okay, so basically, I think when one is preparing for an interview, there are different things the person should know. That the basic things the person should know, like to be able to talk about yourself, your strength, your weakness, your career journey.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much for that answer.
And then, most important, values. And then, I think those are the basic things one should know.
All right. Thank you so much for that answer. Correct. You need to know basic things. But before we go to the question, there are other things that can indirectly or directly affect your interview. It might not be the basic thing that will give you maybe the score and all that, but somehow, it has an effect on your interview. I normally call this as number one, the environment factor. If you have watched our previous videos, YouTube videos, where we are talking about the interview sections, the environment factor. Number two, the people factor. You understand? And number three, the tech factor. That's what I call it as. I might add one or two, but these three are the basic things you need to know before we move ahead to the interview section. Number one, the environment factor. How is your environment? Is it noisy? How is the environment? How is your background? Is your background plain? My background is actually a bit too busy, but a plain background is the best, or a not too busy background is the best. How is your lightning? Is your lightning good? Can they see you? Is it too dark? Do you understand? How is your phone showing the back camera, or are you showing the front camera in your interview? Is your environment messy, or at least it shows a form of organization? Because when you're doing an interview, you want to ensure that all these things are being met. You want to understand that all, you want to believe that all these things are being met. Okay. Number one, you want to ensure that you are maintaining all this. Okay. You're ensuring that your environment is quiet. You're ensuring that your background is plain. You're ensuring that your environment is organized. If there's any factor at all that will make these things to be affected, you need to stop it. If you have to tell your neighbor, please, I have something important, could you please ensure that the environment is quiet this period? That's fine. If you know that your neighbors are those that won't listen to you, you can go to another place that you know is normally quiet, which could be your church, which could be your family member house, anywhere. You need to ensure that your environment is good. So please, we need to note that. Number two is the people factor. The people factor is the time you're having your interview, who is with you at home? If you're someone that have a child that is always crying, are you going to keep, don't you think you should be keeping your child with your husband at that time, or keeping your child with someone that is going to make the child quiet? It's not during an interview, your child will just come in, mommy, 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 daddy, daddy. Yes, some people might not say, okay, might feel you for anything for that, but it could affect your composure. Maybe there's a way you are composed already for an interview, it could affect it. And that's why during an interview, you want to ensure that all these are met. You want to ensure that if you have someone that is with you at home, then you have to ensure that you have, maybe your husband will take care of the child at that time, or your family member will take care of the child at that time. If you know that they are going to create noise, you have to ensure that all these things are met. Then also the people factor still involve you using them for your own benefit. How? Before you start the interview, you need to prepare the interview. So, example, you have someone living at home, you could tell them, okay, please, I want to put on my phone now to position my phone ready for the interview. I'm going to call you using the app that they normally use for interview, which is normally Microsoft Teams. I'm going to call you. Can you also check from your own phone to see how I look or how it's presenting? If everywhere is looking neat and okay, if the camera is working and all that. So that's also the people factor, using them to your advantage. But also the people factor still remains that you need to ensure that, everywhere is quiet. So if anybody is there to make it not quiet, you try to tell them to give you some space at that period of time. The people's factor still involve you as a person. How are you doing the interview? Are you scared? Are you like always fighting, or are you tensed? There's one thing I've always said is when you are tense in the interview, you tend not to do as much as you will do when you are not tense. When you are calm and you're able to reflect back on what you are being asked, you will be able to give an answer when you are being asked a question. Okay. So for now, when they ask you, can you tell me about yourself? At least take maybe 10 seconds or 20 seconds to reflect. I say, okay, but you don't need to take so long, but you can just use that time to refer quickly. Or how will I go about this? Or you might have prepared, or you will have prepared before then, but then you know how to compose yourself. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for this question. You go ahead. While you're saying, thank you very much for this question, you're using time to reflect how to start the answer to that question. So it's very important that, I know saying be calm, saying all this might not be so easy. Yeah, some people like, it's easier said than done. I agree, it is easier said than done. But it's very important that you are calm, because if you are not calm, it can affect the way you speak. You might be speaking too fast. Nobody wants you to calmly talk. You don't need to form phonetic. You don't need to try to change your voice. Just be as natural as possible. If you speak one, speak like that. If you have an accent, speak with your accent. If you do not understand the questions that is being asked, then you need to ask them, oh, okay, could you repeat the question, please? You don't need to be scared. Oh, okay, I did not hear them. I did not hear them. No, everybody is human. It's an interview. It's not the end of the world. They are both human as well as you being human. So you need to just tell them, oh, please, can you repeat the question, please? And you will be told about the question just in case you don't understand. So just be calm. Try to speak within your own pace. Do not rush. Just take your time and give the answer. Okay. Now, another thing I always tell people when you're preparing for an interview is that while preparing for an interview, do not see your interviewer as your boss. Do not see your interviewer as, let's say, one of your senior nurse or something. The reason why I say this is that most people, especially from the African background or Nigeria, wherever, when they are not, their senior position tends to frighten the junior people. Now, because they tend to frighten the junior people will always see the senior, right? I'm not saying it's a crime having that respect, no, but it can get to the extreme end whereby you become too scared. You become too scared to speak up. You become too scared to do something. When you ask questions, you become too scared to give an answer. You are tensed. Oh, what if I fail? What if I fail? So because of it, you might not be calm. But instead, see your interview reviewer as a friend or as someone that you're working with, your colleague you are working with. Okay. Can you tell me about it? Oh, let your interview look like you are chatting, but you are selling yourself. Every point that's coming out of your mouth is an intentional point to sell yourself. Every answer that you give is intentional to sell yourself. Okay, so we should try to do our interview like that. All right. Now, when you're also preparing for an interview, like I said before, you need to ensure that the interview that you are doing, you need to ensure that you see these people like your fellow colleagues and all that, so that you can be able to chat the flow. Oh, can you tell me about yourself? Oh, thank you very much. My name is this. I actually graduated from this place, and currently I'm working in this particular place. I've had experience in this world. I've taken care of certain type of patients. I have quite good taste for knowledge, and I've gone to study this, that. I'm someone that is dedicated and passionate, and I've demonstrated this in my work and in my work routine. I'm someone that is caring. I'm someone that asks myself, what if I was there in that position? How would I like to be cared for? I'm someone that always like to. I'm someone that is flexible with my fellow colleagues. I'm someone that is flexible when it comes to duty. I'm someone that you can call today and say, come to work today, and I'm ready to come to work. I'm someone that has a good interpersonal and communication relationship. I communicate with this, I communicate with that. And I believe that my views and my goal aligns with that of the company. And that's why I would like to work with your company. I have this taste to want to grow, and also not just grow on myself, but also grow the company to achieve the company's goal and the company value. Talking within your own pace. It's very, very important. Because when you are rushing, oh, my name is this, the key points you are giving might be missed. So calmly give your answer. Do not form voice. You are not English. You are not British. You are not whatever country you are having an interview. I know most of you are having interview with the UK. So you're not from there. So English is not your home language. So it's normal if you have an accent. Having an accent is normal because that's not your native language. So there's no need of forming a voice. Just be as natural as possible. That's for the people's factor. Okay. Now, another reason why I always tell people for your environment background should be good is so that the interviewer will not be distracted by your background as well, too, but have a focus and listening to what you are saying so that it will benefit you. Now, let's talk about the tech factor. When I mean the tech, how is your network? I can see on the group now, some people are saying their network is not good and all that. That should be a sign to you that, okay, my network is not good at this time. What time do my network get good? Is there a possible time that because some countries or some places, internet might be good in the morning, but in the night it's not good. Internet might be good in the afternoon, but in the evening it's not good. So if it's possible that they tell you fix a time for your interview, you can fix your interview around the afternoon time. If you know that your interview in that environment is not good regardless, but you know if you go to your church, you know that if you go to another place, your interview will be good. Or sorry, your network will be good, I mean, right? If you know your network will be good at that place, you go there and the place is quiet and the background is good. It's not just the background that is very busy. I remember we're having an interview for one person like that, one nurse for one of our position in our company. And the lady was practically on the road having this interview. And that was just a turn off. Because first, there was noise. Number two, she was distracted. No matter the answer you were giving, it shows on seriousness, not being able to be organized. And as a nurse, you need to be organized, you need to plan ahead of time. It shows that you don't know how to do time management, and which is key roles as nurses. You need to know how to manage your time. You need to know how to do scale of preference. You need to know how to triage. Okay? And her interview was also not good. So that means she was not even prepared. And I said, no, she needs to be prepared. So if all those qualities, right now, with only that attitude she displayed, I'm able to pick a lot of things about her character and her quality, and that disqualifies her automatically. So there's nothing like, let me just do, no, a lot of people at this moment are looking for international jobs. So you don't want, or you do not want the fact that you have been given an opportunity to have an interview and you will misuse it. You don't want that to happen. So try to ensure that you have a good network background. Number two, try to ensure that you have a good working phone. Very important, your phone. Make sure that your battery is also charged. These are something basic thing that we need to know. Your battery is charged, you have a good working phone. Try to ensure that your camera and all that is okay, and you have practiced with the app. If you don't know how to use Microsoft Teams, it's very important that you go ahead and practice using Microsoft. It's not the day of the interview you will start downloading Microsoft Teams. What happened? No, it's not that day. Before that, they make sure that you have downloaded the Microsoft Teams app and start using it. Okay? So those are the basic etiquettes when preparing for an interview. Now, let me look at my paper to be sure that I haven't missed any other thing for the interview. All right, one more thing you need to do for the interview is you need to come on time, at least 5 to 10 minutes before your interview. This will not only show your interviewer that you are an early person, but it will make you calm, because by then you would have been relaxed. Okay, but if you are not calm before that interview, then by the time someone comes to meet you and then asks you a question, you'll be tensed because you're not settled. So it's very important that you are you follow these rules, especially these basic things. At least once you've watered the ground, you can now start building on it. But if you haven't watered the ground like this, you don't have a good foundation to build on. Okay, so that's it about basic preparation for an interview. Now, and also try to maintain eye contact as well too. Eye contact, look at the individual and smile. I always tell people that when you smile at times, it makes the interviewer relax. Like me now, if I'm talking to you and you're frowning, I'm scared. I'm scared, oh, hope I haven't said something to offend her. Oh, so because of it, I don't feel comfortable with you. And everybody wants, will I want to work with somebody that I don't feel comfortable with? No, I won't. Same as the interviewer. So smile. I don't mean you smile. Just open your mouth. I got the time. No, but at least smile. Give a nice, confident smile. Okay, it's very, very good. If I smile at you, smile at me. That's the principle of life. So that's it. Now, when preparing for an interview, you need to know basic things. Basic things, basic common questions that is being asked. Why? Because if you know these common questions being asked, then you will be able to do what? Be prepared ahead of time to give these answers. Number one thing you need to know as nurses is the tell me about yourself questions. Before we start, because interview can be divided into first the general question, which is tell me about yourself, your experience, why do you want to work for us, what are you bringing to us, and all that. The general question. Then after the general question, they move to ask you about what the clinical questions that's now specific towards your your job role, towards your department, because they will then use this score and say, okay, she did good in this, she did good in that. Then they will summarize it and give an answer. So the general questions, the clinical questions, and a personal relationship questions. When I mean personal relationship, I mean questions in relation to your colleagues and others. They will ask that particular questions as well too. So clinical questions, general questions, and what are they calling it? And colleagues to colleague questions are kind of questions they ask in an interview. And so that's why having basic knowledge on all this type of questions makes you prepared ahead of time. If you also feel like you haven't done well in one interview, try to ensure that in your second interview, you kill it. You give it the best shots. So that's it about you knowing how to start and prepare for an interview. Now, this is an interview, and I do not want to be the only one doing the talking. I'm going to be calling names, so nobody is running away. If I call your name and after 1 or 2 minutes you do not respond, I will go to the next person, because we don't want to stay too long. But while we are not staying too long, we also want to ensure that we give quality. From the questions I've asked everyone before I put on the live section, I already have an idea on the people that we have here today. So I will be asking these questions like to you guys, right? And you give me an answer. So I'll see how well prepared you are for the interview. All right. So let me look at what we have here. At the moment, we have I'll start from the bottom of my list is Miss Victoria. Please, I don't know if you're a Miss or a Mrs. here or a Mr. So please pardon me if I just call Miss. I just want to be safe, okay? So Miss Victoria, could you please tell me about yourself? Thank you. Okay. Could we have Miss Beauty tell me about herself? All right. Why we cannot get Miss Beauty to give us the answer? Could we have Miss Mercy tell me about herself? Okay, Miss Beauty, do you want to give a response?
Yes, I want to
All
give.
right.
It may not be that professional because this interview, this is my first interview though. It's like in a
Okay.
standard interview. Yes.
All
Or
right.
what I know, but I learned that was not correct. That's why I'm looking for how to get myself prepared.
Okay. Tell me what
Yes.
you said. I will tell you if it's correct or not. At least I've had interviews with a lot of people.
All right. So I'm Beauty. I don't know if I need to say.
Before we start, right? Please,
Okay. Yes.
everybody listen, because I'm going to randomly pick somebody to score Miss Beauty. Miss Beauty, don't be scared. And then tell her how she can improve if she makes any mistake. And please commend her on the parts that she did well. So go ahead, Miss Beauty.
Okay. So I'm Beauty by name. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a
Okay.
general nurse practitioner. I finished my first diploma program in 2016, and then I had to forward my education and then finish my degree last year, 2023.
Please
I've been practicing.
do not mention the name. Just say I graduated from. Don't mention the name of the school, just for confidentiality purpose.
Okay.
All right, go on.
2023. I've been practicing nursing for 7 years now, and I work in a tertiary institution. And I've I don't know what to say again.
When is your interview?
It's next week.
So go again. You know what to say is in you. So look at this question, right? It's just like somebody say, I have 1 million naira to give you, but you need to tell me if you are the best person for me to give you that money to. Okay. So you need to tell to me who you are. Some people will say, do you know who I am? Now tell me, who are you? So go on. Go
Okay,
again.
so all right. I'm Beauty, and I've I'm a registered nurse with both degree and diploma in nursing. I've been practicing for 7 years now in a tertiary hospital, and I can say I'm the best candidate for this position because I'm someone that is reliable. I'm self-motivated, and I'm energetic, and I'm compassionate. So when dealing with my patients, I put myself in their shoe, saying that anyone can be a patient. So I give them the best care I can, and also acknowledge my limitations. In these years I've practiced nursing, I've worked with different departments and different medical practitioners, making sure that my patients receive the best care they can. And this have really helped me and also ease my work, because when you work with others, trying to get other people's ideas and their knowledge in getting the best care for your patient, it make your work easy. And also talking about patient communication, I don't underlook that, because I know that in communication you're able to make your patients understand their condition, and also it fosters trust in the patient, and it builds rapport also. I know when your patients can be able to trust you, they cooperate with you, and it makes your nursing work very easy. So should I continue? I
Okay.
don't know
So,
if I'm making
all
sense
right.
though.
That's fine. Well, you've tried. You've done well. You've tried. At least for a first attempt, that's good. All right. Doesn't mean that there's nothing to improve on. So
I
can
love
we,
your things.
that's fine. Can we have Miss Mercy correct Miss Beauty? Thank you.
Okay, ma. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, she actually did very well. She was able to tell us about her working experience. She actually did very well. She did
Okay.
well.
All right. Can
Yeah.
you then tell us about yourself then?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that question. My name is Olanipekun Kosi Messi. I'm a registered nurse, and I qualified as a registered nurse year 2019 after completing my
Don't
three
mention your
years
school. Don't mention
Okay,
your
three
school.
years training. Okay, okay. So I have over 5 years working experience, and I've been able to work in various hospital settings, including acute setting, private setting, and a diagnostic center. I also have practice experience in various clinical departments and units. I've been able to work in medical units, surgical units, obstetric and gynecology units. I've also worked I've also been able to care for the elderly. I've worked in a geriatric unit, and I also work in a dialysis unit. So I'm a caring nurse, I'm a compassionate nurse, and I have good and effective communication skills. And also, I am committed to continuous learning development, which helps me to stay up to date with the nursing practice. So over the year, I've been able to undergo some courses, including the basic life support, advanced cardiovascular life support, and pediatrics life support. So all this together has really helped me to stay up to date with the nursing care, and I'm also an advocate. I talk on behalf of my patient. Advocate for my patients. I'm an assertive nurse and an articulate nurse. And I believe if I'm given the opportunity or this offer, I will do very well as a strong team worker. I will be able to work with I will be able to work collaboratively with other teams to provide quality care and treatment for my patients. Thank you.
Good. That's good. So there's a difference between your answer and Miss Beauty answer. Your answer is quite good. Now let's have one more person score Miss Mercy. I will correct you guys after this, but yeah, and anybody that did very well I will mention. So can we have Miss, let's see, I want to I don't know, Bonnie Robinson, could you please give correct or say if she did well or not, and tell me about yourself as well.
Well, the person that spoke last, she really did very well. She was able to tell us about herself, where she has worked, and then her qualities and skills that she possesses. I think that's it. I don't know if she said anything that's not in place.
Okay.
Then the other person that answered before her, I think, is it Beauty also?
Yeah.
She did well too, but for her introduction, I think she only mentioned her name, not her full name, and then she didn't really tell us where she has worked, although she told us she has worked for 7 years, and then she mentioned her skills. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you so much. So can you tell us about yourself now?
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be interviewed today. I am Robinson Emanetu Boni. I'm a registered nurse. I attended Rivers State School of Nursing and graduated in 2020. I have over 3 years post-graduation. I worked at different hospitals. I worked at Standard Care Hospital, where I was able to work in various departments like the orthopedic department, the pediatrics, the labor ward, the elderly unit, outpatient department, accident and emergency. And I'm currently working at Rehoboth Specialist Hospital, where I'm responsible for monitoring and recording patient vital signs. I'm also responsible for administration of medication and documenting. I'm responsible for assisting patients with activities of daily living, educating the patient and advocating for them. I'm also responsible for teaching and assisting less experienced nurses. The skills I have are many and are varied, one of which is the ability to communicate effectively with patients and staff members. I'm also a good team worker. I always have this belief about teamwork that if a particular member of the team fails, it's on the whole team. So I make sure to help out, even when it's outside my allocated duty. I am compassionate, I'm respectful, an active listener, one who is set to attend to patients' needs using innovative means. I'm also a nurse who always strive for excellence. And because of that, post-registration, I've also gone ahead to undertake some courses to better myself, such as the basic life support, advanced cardiac life support, and the pediatric advanced life support. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your answer. So all of you have done well, and you all have corrected each other very well. So Nurse Beauty, yes, what they have said is correct. You didn't tell us about your experience. You only told us you have like 7 years. 7 years in what we do not know. So the second person really did very well. That's a good way of going about your interview. And then third person did well, but at some point I felt you spoke for so long, but at the same point, when I really listened again, you didn't really speak for too long. So that's fine. So you all have done well. Now, when you are asked this question, how do you get ready for this question? This is my own strategy, which I always tell people. You start from where you scored. Maybe say 2 points or 2 lines, or let's say 2 sentences or where you scored. Maybe I'm a nurse that of how many years, if you want to say. I've graduated from this, you understand, talk about where you school. Then once you talk about like where you graduated, you're a registered nurse, and when you graduated, the year you got, maybe you graduated 2018, or I graduated 2018 from blah 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 school, and since then I've been working in nurse as a nurse. From there, it's transitions. It makes the transition easier. So ever since I graduated, I've been working in. So you now start talking about where you work. Okay, I've worked and there's a trick towards giving this answer when you're going about your work experience. For those that their job position is about ophthalmology, and you know that, yes, you might have worked in several units, which is good, but try to make sure that at least you highlight ophthalmology more within your work experience. Because if they can see that, yes, you have the experience in what they are looking for, it gives you an edge. They might not be basically looking for, like, they might want to say, okay, experience is an advantage, but they might take other, but it gives you an advantage. For those that maybe your role is gastroenterology, and you know that you have gastroenterology has both the medical and the surgical together, you highlight more on the medical and the surgical. Oh, okay, so I've worked in several units, but most of my experience has been spent in medical surgical units. I've also flocked them where I worked for maybe about 3 years or about 2 years or something. Or if you have not worked for too long, you don't need to mention it, but you can just say most of my experience or bulk of my experience has been spent within that unit. But apart from those units, I have worked in several other units. You can list them. And this has built my experience so far, or this has built my experience as a nurse so far. You are done with your work experience. After your work experience, you now move to your quality. Now, when you want to say what's the quality of a nurse, there are so many qualities, but you cannot talk about all of them. That's why the person specification is very important. Okay? That's why the person specification is very important. So before the interview, you must have looked at the person specification, and there's something that is called essential. Essential. So when you look at the specific, you will see essential, you will see desirable. So in the specific, the qualities they are looking for in the essential is what you will highlight in the qualities when you're talking about if they want someone that is a team player, if they want someone that has teaching qualities, if they want someone that's taking care of the words before, and you have that, you can highlight it when in your qualities. Oh, I'm a compassionate nurse, I'm a caring nurse, I'm a good team player, just the way you guys have highlighted this. But you need to be strategic. It's one thing to talk everywhere, but it's another thing to be strategic when you are giving that answer. So you look at that person's specification and pick maybe 3 or 4 of those qualities that they want and highlight. Oh, I'm someone that's experienced in caring for a patient. I always want to give my all to my patient, going the extra mile. I'm someone that is innovative. If they want someone that is innovative, I've been innovative at a time. And when they needed, we had an issue in our company that time, I was able to create an idea to help to resolve it. I'm someone that you don't need to go into too much details, just brief talk. But at least you let them know that I'm someone that is innovative. Something that finish is okay. You don't need to talk too much. If you are someone that is a good team player, talk about, oh, as a nurse, we normally work with so many people within the organization. So it has somewhat build my team playing experience. I'm also an advocate. And so because of my team playing experience, I'm able to advocate for my patients with my good communication skills. So you looking at a person specification makes you know, okay, this is the qualities they want to So when they say, tell me about myself, I will go about using that. Now, most nursing stuff need you to have huge taste for knowledge, because they want to be innovative, they want to grow. Every company wants to grow. Every company likes people that have huge taste for knowledge. So after your quality, you can add that, oh, I'm someone that loves to improve in my clinical practice, and because of it, I have done this, I have done that, I have done this. Just the way you guys have talked about how you go about going your BLS and all that. It sends a message that, oh, this person is someone that is not just the person that is just inside. I know, yes, most of us, me, I'm an inside person. No, I don't have energy. But in an interview, right, I will tell them I'm not an inside person. I'm someone that is always wanting to learn more, to progress the organization, because that's what they want. Because we need to sell ourselves. Now, it can be fine for you to end like that on the basis of qualities, and that's fine. But if you know maybe their trust values, kindness, courage, and respect, you can also add that I've looked through the trust policy and I've seen that their values are kindness and this. I'm someone that has these qualities. I display this in my everyday life. Okay, you can add that to end. It's not a must you say my quality resonates with this. No, you can just say I've looked and the qualities is this, and I display this in my everyday life, in my everyday practice. And that's how to go about that question. Hope that's clear. Yeah? Hope we understand that question.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. Now, the second question is, they always ask a question like, why do you want to work for our organization? Why do you want to work for us? Okay, so you need to know why you want to work for them. Oh, I want to work for you because you need to know a little bit about the organization. You mustn't know everything, okay? You mustn't know everything. You know, normal, right? The job description says someone is, you've looked at the job description. You can pick one or two from what they say within the job description. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that question. I don't want to ask people any question here because this person, because I want to ensure that we cover as much as possible. Okay, so I would have been asking you to give me some answer, but it doesn't mean that I will not still ask you guys. So still put your seatbelt on, because I will still ask you some question. But why do you want to work for this organization? Back to the question. Okay, you need to know one or two things about the organization. Let's say you've seen maybe they've won an award or CQC rating, or let's say you've seen that maybe the place maybe you've looked at their values, and their values is something that you can coin and say, okay, it resonates with yours. Or you've looked at the job description and it says that they are looking for someone that is this, someone that is that, or you've looked at the job description and it says that the job of that particular role is for you to take care of this, for you to take care of that. You can say, okay, why don't you work for us? Thank you very much for this particular question. So I've looked at the NHS as a whole. Normally, this is how I will start. The NHS as a whole is a big organization, and they are always keen on patient development. They are always keen on patient improvements. They are always keen on staff development as well too. And I would love to work for an organization like that. I myself am a person that loves growth. And so because of it, seeing an organization that has the same taste as I do, I would like to come in and contribute my own quota. I've also looked at the values. The values is this and that and that. And this is what I do on a daily basis. And I know that fitting into this position and giving my all will also be good. The job description I have also looked at states that they need someone that is this and they need someone that is that. And I know that I have this. And so I would like to work for this organization because I know that I'm one of the best person for that position. Now, this question answer can also be into why do you think you're the best person for this position? And also it could also be, why do you want to work for us? Why I want to work for you is because you guys do this. You guys are interested in, you can do it, divide it into number one, patients, you're interested in patients, you're interested in staff, and you're interested in innovation, growth of the company. So that they will say that, okay, these people, because the truth is, an hospital is divided into three. Number one is the patients and their family. Number two is the staff. Number three is the hospital itself as a company. That's the three division of for an hospital. So why you want to work for them, if you can resonate your answers around that three, that already gives them like, okay, this person has a pure interest. It's not just about the money, but this person wants to work for us because there's something they could offer us, and there's something they have seen that they can come to add. If there's something that maybe their CQC rating is not good, and you know that you have, maybe they had a CQC rating, please mute yourself if you are not speaking. Kindly mute yourself if you are not speaking, please. All right, thank you for that. All right, so if you know that, now can you say I've been distracted now? And that's the thing about, like I always say, quietness is very important. So now you know that, okay, you've observed, they said their CQC rate, maybe they failed for infection and control. You can also add that, oh, I've also looked at your CQC. What CQC? CQC is like people that come to your hospital and check, like, how is this hospital? What do they have? What are they lacking? If you just browse online, CQC of any organization that you're having interview, you will always see it there. You know, you can also see that, oh, I've seen that you guys have a poor rating in this. In my organization, we recently did a campaign and we have improved our health and safety, something, or health infection and control, whatever. And I feel like I would add and improve on this if I'm given an opportunity to work with you. So that's why I want to come and work with you, because I want to come and improve as well, to improve that particular thing you guys are lacking in. It now makes them to feel, oh, wow, these people have really done their homework for us. So this question of why do you want to work for us, and why do you think you are best for this role? Why do you think we should take you? That's number 3 question they normally ask. How will you answer the question? Like I always tell people, interview is expo. People, they've given you expo already. How? They've given you, this is who I want, their person specification. They've given you their job description, what you will do, and this is who you want. All you need to do is to carry those 2 things and study them on your head. So that even if you don't know an answer before, but because you have studied that thing, you'll be able to give an answer to that question. Why do you think you are the best person for this role? I have reviewed your person specification, and I say you need somebody that is this, and I have it. I have demonstrated. It's not enough for you to say you have it though, because anybody can say they have it. So you can go with situation, task. I wrote it down on my paper. Action and results. Situation, task, action, and result. This will help you so that you will not talk for too long. Okay, why do you think you are the best? I've reviewed this position, your person specification, and you need somebody that is compassionate. You need someone that has a good communication skills. I have this. I have demonstrated this in my current workplace and in every area in which I go to. In one certain situation, now you're going, you don't need to go too deep. In one certain situation, in my organization, or you can say this can also, let me just use, in one certain situation, I display this attitude, and I always display it all the time anyway. But for example, you can use, for example, in one particular situation, my patient needed 1 or 2 things, and I went beyond to go and find a way to get this for my patient to make her settled. But my patient maybe had an issue and she needed the family to be with them. I went ahead to advocate so as to help them. That's if you want to talk about education. For caring and communication, I try to look at them and say, how can I help them get better? How can I support them? So whenever I resume work, I always go towards my patient and ask my patient, how do you think I can best help you? And it enables me to channel my care towards them and improve my communication with my patients. So because of it, I feel like I have this skill, I have this quality needed. In addition, I've also looked at the job specification. I can also see that apart from the caring and communication, you guys need someone that is interested in education of junior staff. And I do this on a daily basis. We always have junior staffs. So because I have experience in this, I do not think it's going to be difficult for me to transition into this role. So I feel like I am the best person for this particular position. So using the person specification gives you that edge, gives you that knowledge, okay, that this is what they want. I have it. I have done it. Even if, let me not say even if you've not done it, but you can create something, the truth. That's not, but yeah, that's it. But you demonstrate how you have done it, because as a nurse, you communicate every day. As a healthcare person, you have relationship with your what are they calling it? With your patients. If you are not a nurse, you're someone that have maybe you have communication with your clients all the time. Okay, so you have this communication. So it's not something you don't do, you do it. So it's just to say how you do it. If you're someone that's taken care of a ward before, if you must not even be a ward manager. You might be in charge of the duty that day. It's your responsibility to take care of the ward. So yes, I've had in charge responsibility. I've had leadership responsibility. Even if it's not within your workplace, let's say you hold a leadership position in the church, you can bring this. I've demonstrated this attitude. You understand? Even if it's leadership you've demonstrated when you were young, bring it. I was once this and I pushed to achieve this. So I am a leader. And that's why I feel I am the best person for this position. So that's how to prepare for that question. Okay, so next question they normally ask under general is, why do you want to work for the NHS? Why? Why should we let you work for the NHS? Because I believe most of our role here is NHS role. Or even if it's not NHS, why do you want to work for our company? But this question, why I use NHS, is because for you to answer the question why you want to work for NHS is different. It's kind of different from the question, why do you want to work for us, maybe for Glasgow or for whatever trust that you are going for. Because that one, you need to go and study their value and also give the answers which are given. But when you say, why do you want to work for the NHS is broad. So there's always a way of giving that answer. And I always tell people to go and know, oh God, what's it called? It's leaving my head now. Hell, what's it called? Okay, when you come back, I'll tell you guys. Let me see if I have it on my paper. Let me see if it's on it's called the 7, it's up to 7, okay? And this 7 has to do with, number 1, patient and family involvement, education and training, okay? Auditing, it has to do with teaching the junior ones, obviously, okay? Improvements, like improving on your current practice and all that, is up to 7, all right? I wrote it somewhere, I can't find where I write it, but it's up to 7. Just remind me in case, or to put on the group, so that when I finish, just remind me to put it there. So that will enable you give an answer on why you want to work for the NHS. The NHS is a multi-diverse community, and they care for people of different background. From the north to the west, from all over the world, we have patients from different backgrounds. And it will be a pleasure to work in this kind of community because I can extend my care. Currently, I care for people in my hospital, and we have people from different ethnicity, different phase of life, different experience of life. okay, different background and different upbringing. So I have experience in dealing with people from different backgrounds. So transitioning to the NHS will not be so much difficult because I have experience with working with people from different backgrounds. But because the NHS is not a broader organization, I want to work for you so that I also can contribute my part and also improve my care in a larger scale. The NHS is someone that is interested in patient and family involvement. And I always know that nursing or whatever position you're going for is all about patients and family. It's one thing to care for the patient, but it's also another thing to care for the family. And I would love to work with an organization that deals with this. Okay, that's number two. Then you can also say the NHS is also interested in staff education and staff development. And the reason why we are where we are today is because there's continuous improvements and development in different phases of life. I'm someone that loves knowledge. I'm someone that loves development. And I would like to develop myself as well too, so that I can improve the care of the patients and also the NHS. And the NHS I have seen and I have heard is one that does that. So I would love to work within this type of organization. So these are ways to answer this question. Okay, you can also add the NHS does research, does auditing. You can also add the NHS have a key role maintaining infection and control and preventing fears of diseases and all that. And I have experience with this. Okay, in my own little way, I've kind of done this one way or another. Do you understand? And that's why I want to work within the NHS. So whenever you are asked certain questions, you need to know the certain way to give these answers. Okay? So hope that is clear. Oh God, why can't I remember? Hope that is clear. Hope I've not been speaking for too long and I've confused everybody. Hope that is clear.
It's clear, yeah.
All right,
Yeah, ma'am.
thank you. All right. So now that is it about the general question. Now, because I have lots of general people questions. So let me now ask a bit of, okay, let me still go this way. Now, another question we need to ask, they normally ask in an interview. Like I said, once they are done with the general question, they ask the work colleague question. Question like, okay, if there's a conflict within your organization, if there's a conflict between you and your fellow colleague, how will you resolve it? You were working in the ward one day and a colleague of you just shouted on you in front of the patient. What will you do? You're trying to tell a doctor to do this, and that's the standard of the hospital, but he refused to do it. What will you do? Okay? And he keeps doing the same thing all over again, and it's detrimental to the health of the patient. What will you do? You meet your colleague committing an error or making a mistake. What will you do? Okay? These are questions that have been asked in interview. Now, for you to give an answer to these questions, you need to know about conflict management, because once you know about conflict management, you can be able to navigate the answer anyhow, like navigate it. Whether they tell you, okay, first, number one principle of conflict management is you need to leave that scene. Leave the scene of that conflict. Because where there is fire, you don't want to say you want to go and put your leg inside the fire. So number one rule, regardless of the questions they ask you about conflict management, at that time it is hot, right? The way you will fight on the English depends on you, right? But why your colleague shout at you, you do not reciprocate back by shouting. At that time, I won't confront my colleague. Or at that time, unless the person is making a mistake, that time you are seeing the thing is going to affect the patient, like the patient is going to probably die or something, if that thing continues, you quickly go there and stop it. You understand? And tell the person, please, can I speak to you? You don't need to speak to the colleague in front of the patient. You just take the please, but you will quickly go and stop that event. If the patient is going to be detrimental to that and needs immediate and quick action, you quickly go and stop it. Do you understand? And then you tell the patient, please, can I speak to you? But if it's not going to disrupt anything, the person just shouted at you. At that time, you do not shout back. At that time, you do not do anything like to escalate that issue. Like you don't like add injury to the stuff so that it won't make the issue a big deal at that time. But after then, you go and speak to the person. And you, if it's something like the person shouted at you or something, you go back and speak to the person. Like, oh, okay, this happened. Is there anything I have done that have offended you in any way? If it's not so, if you guys have tried to speak and you find that it's not, maybe it's something, you might even find that it might be related to something from their house. Maybe that is why, or the person just overreacted in terms of something. You communicating with the person after that time, the person would have calmed down and will begin to reason well, right? And tell you, oh, maybe, oh, sorry, it's just something from stress at all. Or the person will say, oh, you did this. And you might not even know you did something, that you can apologize. But if it's something that you know that you did not do anything and all that, then you could not ask, well, why did you speak to me like that? So you just try to speak with the person to resolve it. And next time, could you please call me aside if I have done something wrong to speak? Do you understand? But if after speaking to the person, try to resolve it, it's not still working, then you escalate it. And that's why you must know escalation plan. Now, some people want to cram the escalation plan of the UK. You do not need to. You just need to know the escalation plan of your company or your hospital where you are currently working. Because they're asking you, how will you escalate it? You could simply say, well, I will inform if it's affecting the health of the patient or our care. Someone is speaking again. I will escalate it to maybe the nurse in charge. If it's not being resolved, I will escalate it to the manager. If it's not being resolved, I will escalate it to. If it's not being resolved, I will escalate it to the supervisor. If it's not being resolved, I will escalate it to the deputy nursing. But I will escalate it according to the policy, and this is the policy within my organization. But once I'm given an opportunity to work with the NHS, I will escalate it according to the policy of the NHS. So that's if it's now affecting the care of the patient. Do you understand? When it's getting to that stage, you need to start escalating it. Now, if they ask you, what if your colleague make an error, and you see your colleague making an error, you call your colleague aside and speak to your colleague, making them aware of what they have done, right? And once you've done, you will now see, is this something that they need further training for? And tell them that if they need support, you're always there to support them. You understand? So that there won't be any mistake. And if the person has missed the patient, inform the colleague to make sure that the person has informed the family member, inform the patient as well too, and perform duty of conduct. Okay, duty of conduct is when you are informing what you have done. Okay, perform it, do all that, and also make sure that you have informed. If it's something that maybe you gave a medication, it might affect the patient and all that, you need to observe tell the colleague, you need to observe the patient and also inform the doctors to come and review the patient as well, or your seniors as well too. So it's important that you know conflict management. It's important that you also know what's the name. It's important that you know your escalation plan. Your escalation plan. Okay. Escalation plan helps in different conditions. If something, especially when something happens, you need to know how to escalate. If incidents happen, you need to know how to write an incident form. If a patient falls, if the patient have pressure sore, if anything happens to a patient that is bad, if medication incidents, knowing how to escalate to the right person, And knowing how to fill an incident form is very, very important, same as conflict management. Now, for those that are going for the role of ophthalmic nurse, I have some questions here. That's if I haven't covered some. Okay, so they ask a question here. What have you done to improve your knowledge for an ophthalmic nurse position in the last year? Okay, what have you done to improve your your role as, so they are simply asking you, is there anything that you've engaged in? Those kind of questions are very simple. You can just tell them, oh, I've attended seminar. You must not have gone back to the university to do one big course, but you probably have attended seminars. You can also talk about how you normally browse to improve your knowledge, how you've attended seminars. Those are ways to say, just fighting the answer and give it to them. So you just knowing all these little answer. Now, these questions, so why should we hire you? What are you bringing to the company? Tell me about yourself. What have you done to improve your knowledge as an ophthalmic nurse? Then also other questions like, okay, these are some of the basic questions for ophthalmic nurse. What are your strengths and your weakness? That's another important question they normally ask. And yes, anybody that said, do they really still ask that question? Yes, they ask the questions. What is your weakness? Where do you feel like you are going to need improvement on? Okay. Now, I've been talking for too long. I would like someone to answer that question. What do you think is your weakness, and what have you done to improve your weakness so far? This is, anybody can give an answer. So, what do you think is your weakness, and what have you done within the past year to improve on that weakness? You must talk, oh. Me doing the talking is not good, though. You must talk. If you don't talk, you can never know how you will give that answer. You will not even know whether what you have in your mind is the wrong thing or the correct thing. So please answer that question. Thank you. I will not answer it if nobody will not answer. I'll move to the next question.
I am okay for what is my weakness, right?
Yes, and what have you done to work to improve on it?
Okay. Well, I'm someone that is too dedicated, and because of that, I'm always hardworking, always on my toes, wanting to do most of the job on my own. And I just discovered that I used to get tired most of the time and stressed out when I get home. So recently, I've taken some courses on how to delegate jobs properly, prioritize my duty, and then because of that, I'm less stressed now, and then I'm able to manage my job more effectively.
That's fine. That's a good one. Well done. Can we have one other person who can answer? Okay. So she has given the answer of how. So when you are picking the answer, you must ensure that you are picking a safe answer. You don't want to tell them that, oh, okay, maybe one of the key essential role that they need is what you are having issues with. No. You can simply say that, oh, I'm someone that is, you can use a positive thing to create a negative thing and then say you're working on it. Like she said, I'm someone that likes to do things. I'm someone that is, so every time I'm always doing the thing, working dedication and all that. And at times, because I want to ensure that or maybe because I'm a perfectionist and I like to ensure things are being done and all that, I get so stressed and I get so stressed and it's affecting my personal life. So I've learned now, I've undergone a course on the importance of delegation. And now I know how to delegate, but I make sure that after delegating, I also review what I've delegated to ensure that the right thing is being done. All right. And it has also made me to know how to prioritize properly and better. So that's a safe answer, because you said that you are what? A perfectionist. You like to make things done rightly. And that's why you get stressed. But you've learned to delegate. But you've also learned to delegate. Does not mean that you will not still do the thing you're supposed to do. You are still doing it, but you have improved on it. Okay. And you also check people that you delegate to be sure that they are doing the right thing. And delegation is good. Is good. Now, another thing you can talk about is like, oh, I'm someone that is always let me look for an I'm someone that always try to focus on things. I'm someone that likes to focus on much details, and because of it, it might reduce my pace in which I'm carrying out some activities. So I've worked and I've learned more on my time management, and now I'm able to be able to. Delegation is still there. I'm able to prioritize as well too, and while I'm prioritizing, triage as well. And I've learned that triaging and prioritizing has made me focus on important tasks and delegate other tasks that does not need my urgent attention. Then I review them after. That's a safe one. You can also go for other safer options rather than even the ones I've even said, rather than even the one that is not even within nursing. I'm someone that is always too committed to the work, and it kind of affects my work-life balance. So because of it, why I'm still not why and also when I go home, I still keep thinking about work and all the time. I'm too work oriented. So now I've tried to use my time effectively, in the sense that when I'm at work, I try to ensure that all the things I need to do is done correctly. And when I'm at home, I try to have a time out to rest so that I can focus and have a work-life balance. That one is also good. When you're at home, you know you are focused on your family and you are best. When you're at work, you try to give your best at work. So I'm someone that is emotional, and whenever I lost a patient, it really hurts me so deeply. At times, I cry a lot, not in front of the patient though, but with the help of my senior colleague, I've been able to manage and know how to carry up and go about my emotional issues. So now I know how to manage effectively, and it has improved me and also improved my patient. I still care for my patient, but I also understand that the principle of healthcare and all that. So these are ways, safe ways to give, not saying, oh, I'm someone that is not good in medication management. And that's what you need to do as a nurse. So it's very important that you know how to give that answer. Now, we have someone here that is going for ophthalmology stuff. Now, I want to ask you a question. How do you prepare a patient that is having an ophthalmic surgery? It's your question. So if you do not answer, we'll leave it. What's the name? Nurse Vicky. You're going for an ophthalmic stuff. So please tell me, how do you prepare a patient that is going for an ophthalmic surgery? That is one of your main duties. And also, how do you prepare a patient how do you carry out an ophthalmic nurse assessment of your patient the moment you meet your patient in clinic? I'm waiting though. If you're not answering, I'll go to the next person.
I'm talking. Are you not hearing? Hello?
No, I'm not hearing you.
Hello?
I can hear you now. Go on.
Okay. Let me start from welcoming a patient into the ophthalmic clinic. First, you welcome the patient. I welcome my patient into the clinic. Great rapport by greeting the patient and making the patient calm and relax. Give them patient where to sit. Take history, like asking about the present history, what's wrong with the patient, the past history, how family history, whether there is any family history of diabetes or any other disease condition that can affect the eye. Move on to examining the eyes from the outside, the eyelid, cornea, and every part of the eye that should be examined. Move on to doing visual acuity. All these are being documented as step-by-step documentation as I'm carrying out the procedures. After the examination, let's say the doctor has seen the patient, has booked the patient for surgery. The patient is admitted prior to the day of surgery. Hello?
I'm listening, go on.
Okay. Patient is admitted. Counseling. Patient will be told about what and what should be done to allay anxiety, shown to other patients that has undergone the same surgery and how good they are. I'll ensure the consent has been signed, and trimming of the eyelashes, because depending on the setting, most surgeons prefer the eyelashes to be trimmed so that it will not interfere with the surgery and it will not be a major source of infection to the eye after surgery.
Okay.
Installation of prescribed drugs to help. Installation of prescribed drugs. Some cases, the eye needs to be dilated and dilating drugs are used. So I'll ensure all these are done and patient is calm and relaxed before surgery.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. How do you have you talked about how you prepare the patient pre-op? Have you talked about how you prepare the patient pre-op? Hello, Nurse Vicky, are you here?
That's when I talked about allaying anxiety.
All right, okay, that's fine, that's fine. I can't hear you clearly, but that's fine. So although your network was kind of breaking in between, but yeah, so it's always important that you have an idea on how you go about carrying out your assessment. I'm not an ophthalmic nurse, so I cannot give you all the full answer, but you can go and watch a YouTube video on more to know how to, so you will not be going too detailed and you're not giving the answers that they want. Do you understand? Ahead. So at least you need to know basic ophthalmic assessments. Like you said, knowing how to do the visual acuity, knowing how to check for those cornea and all that, checking if there's any abnormality, then also knowing how to calm the patient, speak to the patient, taking history of the patient, which you have said already before you go into the eye assessment and all that. Document if there's anything, escalates if there's any issues noted and all that. So you've covered everything and that's good. So it's very, very important. Preparing patient pre-op, you need to know the patient's allergy. Okay? You need to know the patient's allergy.
Thank you.
Yeah, very important, because if you don't know the patient allergy, you might, understand ahead. You need to know patient allergy. You need to know notes like, I don't know if you guys do markings for the eye. Have the patient also consented ahead? Have they said that they don't go operate on the wrong eye? Also, have the patient consented to the surgery? Have you checked? If consent has not been done, you need to go and meet them, that they need to consent to the patient identity. You need to ensure that it's the right patient. So if they need to have any identity document, any identity band that needs to be done, is all prepared there ahead of time. If there's any procedure instructions that the patient needs to know before the surgery or prepare ahead, like normal surgery now, they'll tell you that you should not eat, you should fast for 8 hours. Surgery, if there's anything they need to do, maybe they need to maybe when the patient comes to meet you in the clinic before the surgery, patient needs to, if there's anything, maybe keep the eyes, maybe washing it with saline or whatever that the patient needs to do before the surgery, just to prepare. Any instruction, you need to give it to the patient so the patient is well aware. Then you ask the patient after if he has any questions, any difficulty, so you can give an answer to help the patient, so that the patient communication needs are met and all that. So preparing pre-op and preparing in clinic, it's very, very important. How I got that question I asked you now was because I went to browse the job description of ophthalmic nurse, and they said one of their key role as ophthalmic nurse is preparing a patient for a pre-op, number one, and also in clinic communicating with the patient. So that's why I asked you that question. So you need to go and look at, and they could also ask you some ophthalmic condition. Have you cared for a patient with glaucoma before? Could you tell us the management of a patient with glaucoma? Okay, what if a patient have diabetes and patient is affecting the eyes? So how do you prepare a patient for such situation? So those minute procedures or minute things that, if you don't know anything, just say, oh, sorry, I haven't cared for this patient with that. But basic care for patients, you can talk about basic care as a nurse. At the end of the day, as a nurse, we always have the nursing things we do. They can even ask you one particular question, which is, what do you think is the role of an ophthalmic nurse? You understand? What do you think is the role of an ophthalmic nurse? You can use the 6 C's of nursing to give that answer. So if you do not know the 6 C's of nursing, this question is to everybody too. The 6 C's of nursing, knowing the care, compassion, communication. Yes, also you know how to marry all of them and integrate it into your answer. You don't just say, oh, the key of an ophthalmic is that she must be caring, she must be compassionate, she must be competent. You need to kind of introduce it into that ophthalmic nurse answer. I don't know, but it's all those things are just like bullet points to give you a guide on how to give an answer to that question. So those are ways. So this is a bit specific to those going for ophthalmic. Now I have someone here that is going for the role of a speech therapist assistant. So are you here? The person going for the speech therapist assistant. Are you here?
Yes,
If you are
please.
here, okay, all right. So I've got some questions for you. Most of the questions that we have that they ask, I've already asked them because it's kind of relates under those general questions. So now one of the questions they ask is, what is your experience working with children with speech and language disorder? Have you had that experience?
So I have more than 3 years of experience working in several departments, though I've not worked directly as a speech and language therapy assistant, but I've worked in several units where we had children who had speaking disability, and we had to draw the attention of the speech and language therapist, where I had an opportunity to be involved in some of the activities. So I tend to notice that most children with autism had speech, their speech are normally delayed, and it's very slow for them. When they try to speak, it's slow for them to develop their speech. And we have also had several clients who had stroke that affected majorly more of their brain, and the aspect of the brain that has to do with language. And some of these clients too also require speech and language therapy, because it enables them to be able to speak, though their speech will be delayed, but with much effort, it gets better over time. And just recently, I had a client in my ward who was involved in a very terrible stroke, which affected his brain so badly, especially the aspect that has to do with language on the brain. And because of this, the patient had to spend a long period of time at the ward. We had to involve the speech and language therapist. We also had to involve the occupational therapist and other multidisciplinary team to be able to assist this patient. And whilst the speech and language therapists were discussing with the patient, fortunately for me, that day I had to assist him, and I took note that the patient was able to get or develop thoughts in his brain, but he was unable to speak due to certain reasons. So what he did was that he encouraged him. He helped him feel comfortable because initially he was anxious and he was furious because getting yourself involved in such situation is normally emotionally draining. But after much reassurance, the patient was able to pen down his thoughts, and the therapist encouraged the patient to speak gradually on his own space, and he was also patient with the client, and currently the patient is improving.
That's good. I'm impressed, totally impressed. Now, why I'm impressed, it's because you acknowledge the fact that yes, you might not have worked like in a speech and language stuff, like you working as a speech and language person, but you have had experience with speech and language patients. You've difficulty patients. You even mentioned autism. You understand? You even mentioned stroke. Do you understand? And that is how to go about a question when you are asked a question relating to an experience or a field that you've not really had. Like maybe you are not in that particular field, but you've had experience relating to that field. That's the way to go about it. You can also add, because this is normal, when you can use add that you use other visual aids to support, or other speech and language aids. At times you might use what are they calling it? Maybe they can use writing aids to help in improving the communication and all that. Any visual aids that they normally use, you can just add one or two in this question, and that's very, very good. I like the way you answer that question. Thank you so much. So next question is, describe a time. Okay, you've not, I don't know. Let's see if you can answer it though. Describe a time when you had to modify a therapy plan for a patient based on their individual need. Do you know the answer to that question? Should I go again? Should I go again? Are you still here? Just want to be sure before I go.
Sorry, I didn't unmute. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Okay, thank you.
So, due to my little experience, I had a client that was last month, I think around the second week of January 2024, who had a treatment plan which was being organized by the speech and language therapist at our facilities. And for some reason best known to the patient and his relative, the relative actually complained when I was on duty that the therapy is so slow and they tend not to see improvement. And this has really made the patient so furious and so unable to express himself because his professional job has to do with him talking most. So he's really frustrated because he might end up losing his job because of this current condition. So I reassured the relative. I also try to calm her down. I try to help them see how I understand how they feel, and I will discuss with the multidisciplinary team, and we're definitely going to work on the patient plan, which I did. I involved my nurse manager. She also contacted the speech and language therapist, and fortunately we had to involve the nutritionist because the nutritionist helped us to see that there are certain nutrients and certain meal plan we'll have to make for this particular patient to give the patient the accurate meal plan he needs to boost his brain and to also assist him in several other ways and also his treatment, which we did, and we adjusted the the plan which was initially made by the therapist. It was adjusted, and within 1 week there was a lot of improvement in the patient's health, in the patient's speech, even his swallowing, his eating. There was a lot of improvement, and this made me felt so glad that I was able to intervene and make sure that my patients and their relative needs were being carried out.
Okay, that's good. So this answer you gave can also serve as the next question, which is, how do you handle difficult conversation with parents about their child's progress in therapy? The answer you gave also has a way of suiting or fitting into, because you gave that the patient relative were not really comfortable and you spoke with them and you escalate it and you went further to create a plan. So that's a way of answering that's a way of giving a good answer. Another thing, which according to what I'm reading here, another thing they said, but this one is going in the way that the person already have an experience, is when they talk about you assessing the patient's communication skills and having to use more visual aids or activities. Sorry? Okay. Having to use more visual aids and activities and monitoring the speech and development. So at least to show that you are doing something. So you should say that, okay, maybe you do a little bit of assessment and also say how you can monitor. But you already said that you don't really work in there, you kind of support. So that's fine. Then this also answer, they say, explain the importance of collaboration between therapists, teachers, and other professionals when treating a patient with speech and language disorder. Unmute yourself if you are muted. Explain
Hello.
yeah, I'm listening.
Please, can I get the question again?
Thank you. So it's explain the importance of collaboration between therapists, teachers, and other professionals when treating patients with speech and language disorder.
Okay. So, please, can you hear me?
I can go on.
Personally, based on my almost 4 years of working experience, I've noticed that in the care sector, we need to collaborate with several departments just to give the best to our clients, because most of the time we have to see other factors that can affect their treatment plan or that can affect the way they respond to treatment. And over the years, I've noticed that most patients who suffers from stroke actually require a speech and language therapist. They also require a physical therapist and also a occupational therapist involved, which they also need their nurses, their healthcare assistants, the doctors, the physicians, and other multidisciplinary team. This is because of their condition, they tend to have several damages. And due to these damages, in the healthcare sector, we have different departments which has to tackle specific roles. So, for example, the speech and language therapy will have to do with the patient's speech, or if the patients find it difficult to swallow or they have eating disabilities, the speech and language therapist will work with that. And if the patient is bedridden and need now therapist, the if the patient will need a physical physiotherapist, then we call in the physiotherapist that will help with health. Hello, please, can you hear me?
I can, though your baby is crying, but it's fine. Go on. If you
Please,
can
it's not
round up.
me. It's not
Listen
me.
to you. Oh, really? Please, if you're not talking, can you mute yourself? Let me just mute. Okay, go on.
Okay, so the physiotherapist will also have to assist the patient.
Go on. I've muted her. Go on.
The physiotherapist will also have to assist the patient with.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Nurse, I believe it's Oluwatayo that is doing the interview for the speech and language therapist. Let me not go and mistakenly mute the wrong person.
No, it's Happiness.
Okay, so I've been muting the wrong person. So sorry, Happiness. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. I can see you are prepared for your interview. When is your interview again? Remind me.
Please, is tomorrow.
Ah, you need to be more prepared, Seth. So let me ask you two more questions before your interview. Okay. So what is the next question I was going to ask you now? No, not this one. No, you don't have to explain. Okay. How do you handle situations where a patient has difficulty understanding instructions?
Hello, please, can you hear me?
I can go on.
Okay. Over the years, I've been able to identify that most patients who has difficulties with their speech and also their language tend to face a lot of emotional distress, and this has really taken a big role on how they respond to their treatment and also how they respond to their staff. Some of them tend to be angry and furious when having discussion with other patients because they are really draining emotionally. And I've been able to communicate with them patiently. So just recently, I had a patient who I had to explain the plan for the day and what we're going to do. So for that specific day, we initially discussed with the patient and the relative, and they helped us to see some of the games that the patients normally play on a daily basis before what happened, before he had stroke. And then uh, the speech and language therapist instructed me to go and explain to the patient, since the patient can hear me clearly, about what we're about to do and what will be entailed for the day, which I went there. And whilst I was talking to the patient calmly, I saw that her facial expression was not really good, and I saw she became furious. So I asked her why, what was wrong, and I gave her a pen and a paper to jot down, since she could write that she couldn't speak. And she said she's angry and she felt like the plan is delaying, though she's able to gain thoughts, but she's furious that she can't speak and she needs to talk. And then I reassured her calmly. After a lot of reassurance, she agreed to the treatment plan for the day, and we did it, and it was actually successful.
All right, that's good. So what thing I could pick is one, you were calm, you used lots of reassurance, you used um what the patient, you looked at the patient, you know the patient, so there's something the patient normally likes to do, the game. So you can use that to bring the patient into a conversation, what the patient likes or what the patient needs, or use something the patient is fond of to bring the patient in. And then you could use other communication skills like non-verbal communication. It's not all the time. There are so many non-verbal communication, which is calmness, you being there to listen to the patient as well, to you maintaining eye contact. So you can add that you could use non-verbal communication skills, and also you giving the patient a paper to write, because you know that he can't communicate very well speaking. Also, we help them calm down and rather than being stressed because they can't speak very well. Now, before I go to the general nurses who have interview, let me ask you one more question for your interview section. If I have time, I might send you some on the group. But before I continue, please, when you guys finish your interview, kindly please put some of your questions or put your questions on the group. It's going to enable us do more interviews like this. It enable us to support people that have interview. We don't ask anybody for any money. We do this from our own free will, our own time and all that. So it's something that we just like to do to give back to the community. So please, when you have your interview, try to also give back to other people by telling us your questions on the group and all that. Now, next question is, what strategy? I need your strategies now. what strategies do you use to build a rapport with the patients and their family? I don't know if you are muted though.
Hello, please
Okay, I
can you hear
can hear
me?
you now. Yeah.
Over the years, I've noticed that each patient and their relatives are unique in their own way. And I've also taken note that I have to be flexible when it comes to rapport, and it should be something that is pleasing with the patient. So just recently there was a patient who was assigned to me, and this was the first time I was coming in contact with the patient. So when I knocked and then I entered the patient room. I locked the door. I actually waited for response before I entered. And before then, I went through the patient file. I went through their plan and everything and what I was definitely going to do for the patient. So I said for the patient room, I knocked, I waited for response, and then I entered. And when I entered, I had a smile on my face, and I noticed that the patient was not in a good mood. So I introduced myself that my name is Happiness J. I told the patient what I was assigned to do. I basically introduced myself to the patient, and still the patient was not smiling. And then I sat down close to the patient, though her relative was with her. And then I had a heart-to-heart conversation with her. I asked her, is anything the matter? Would she need my assistance? She should remember that I'm here for her. We are all here to assist. We are all here to make sure that she gets better. And I made sure that whilst I was having this conversation with her, I took note of confidentiality. So I informed her ahead that any information she shares with me will be confidential. And I made sure that I provided privacy by locking the door, by making sure that the windows are, you know, open in such a way that anyone passing by could hear our conversation. And after doing this, the patient was able to open up to me. She told me what was bothering her, and I reassured her. And then I was able to create a good rapport with her. And then I had to call in the speech and language therapist for him to continue our job for the day.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your answer. Yeah, so just one or two things I want to add is make sure why you are, because at times it feels like you might be going too much into some details. Make sure that while you're going into some details, too much details, still try to put in like some other key points. You understand? And how will I explain it now? I like the fact that you're going to give example of what you have done, but don't go into too much some details that might not be so important, but try to ensure that the details you are giving is also closely related to your strategies, if you get what I mean. But your answers are good, so well done. You are prepared for your interview. I wish you success. So let me go to the other nurses. Now the general nurses, how would you manage a very poor patient that took your time, and how did you manage your shifts? We'll be rounding up soon, so general nurses, it's your turn to shine now. Is there no general nurse here? I know some nurses are going for general nurse position. Oh. Abi, are we not here? Nurse Beauty, Nurse Blessing, and the rest of us.
Rehabilitation. I told you mine was rehabilitation later.
Okay, rehabilitation. I will answer your question. Okay, rehabilitation. All right. Let me look for your own question. Let the general nurse give their answer to the question. Okay, no one is giving that answer. All right, that means we don't have a general no say. That's fine. So let's focus on the people that we have here then. So 10 rehabilitation nurses question. Let me look for NHS specific ones. I want to ask NHS specific ones. NHS rehabilitation questions. Okay. Just a second. Let me get an NHS nurse rehabilitation question because I want to go specific today. 20 rehabilitation nurse interview questions. All right, so your question starts now. Describe a time when you had to provide emotional support to a patient during their recovery process. Describe a time. I don't know if you are muted. If you're muted, or mute yourself. Describe a time when you had to provide emotional support to a patient during their recovery process.
Okay, so in answering this question, should I just start from any angle?
Yeah. Or you
Can
in the
you
answer this
specific
question
questions?
to support you. There's something that is called STAR. It's called situation. The situation, what happened, the task, what you were supposed to do, the action, what you carried out, and then the results. So to answer all this, describe a time, what happened, all those things to enable you have a good answer, you need to know how to use STAR, the STAR technique. Oh, okay, there was a time this thing happened and this thing happened, and the patient was this, that's the task. And I needed to help the patient to resolve this, that. The action, this was what I did, this, that, and then the results. So let me go again now. Describe a time when you had to provide emotional support to a patient during their recovery process.
Okay, so supporting patients emotionally is a crucial aspect of nursing care, which cannot be overlooked. And in those areas, I also take it very important because I know the effects of it to my patient. I can remember a case I handled not quite long. One of my patients she was emotionally affected because of her condition. Because after she had a stroke actually, and after then she couldn't do normal activities of daily living, and it was affecting her emotionally because she's an independent individual. So saying that, I understood what the patient was going through. I was able to help this patient by first of all listening to her, express her feelings and understand what she's actually going through and her perspective to the condition and her recovering process. By so doing, I was able to reassure her that this is a phase and that she's going to come out of it. So it made her to say that, okay, I understood what she was going through and she was confident in me. And with so I was able to build her emotion back and she was confident in her recovery, knowing that she's going to recover. Yeah, this is one of the cases I think that is of recent. Thank you.
All right. That's good. You went with a description. I know that I could go another way, which would be okay. Taking care of patients during rehabilitation, it can be very most patients having rehabilitation needs can get very emotional. And one way in which I normally use is to ensure that I have or offer good care, compassion, and I use a good communication skills to relate with them. An example was when I had a patient now that had stroke, who has limited ability and all that. I went forward to use good communication skills, communicating with her, understanding her needs, giving her a listening ears, making her know that I'm there for her, supporting her the best I could, and also advocating towards other departments to see how they can support in order to improve in case there's any of her skills that she can adjust to. I also encourage the rehabilitation process, involve our family as well too. I try to ensure that I give her a listening ear and reassure her to let her know that we are there for her. And by the time her independence started regaining slowly, we try to encourage her because I know that she's an independent lady and she would love to improve on her independence. So the little task she could carry, we try to encourage her and we applauded her in every little task that she has achieved. This enabled her to be encouraged, feel more comfortable. And then we also use diversion technique to enable her remove her mind from the situation she's currently in. So, but that's a good one. Well done for that answer that you have given. So, what is your experience with providing rehabilitative care to patients?
Okay, working in a rehabilitation unit can be interesting, and at the same time, it can be it can be um an
No, my
emotional task.
question is, what is your experience? Like,
Okay,
what
okay,
is
how do
your
I answer,
experience
please?
with providing care to the patients?
So how do I start answering the please? This is a sincere question.
Okay, all right. So how you talk about, what do you have experience with working with rehabilitative patients?
I've not worked in rehabilitation, but I feel because I've worked in general wards, in our country here, most times each unit don't really have a special rehabilitation unit. You see them in general ward where like people with a stroke, they still keep them there. So it's like you're managing both someone in acute phase and people in rehabilitation phase.
Good.
I don't know
So
if
now
my
tell me what your experience is in handling patients with rehabilitative cases.
I don't know how to start answering the question.
Okay, you can start it. Okay, currently, I work in a medical ward and we have patients that go through both acute phase and rehabilitative stage. So during the rehabilitative stage, especially for patients with this condition, this is what I do. This is what I do. All right, so you can start now.
Okay. Okay, so I please ask me again. Sorry, please ask me the question again, please.
So what is your experience with providing rehabilitative care to your patient? This is what you do, okay? It's what you do. So you can simply just start, oh, I currently work in a medical ward. And in a medical ward, we have patients in different stages of their health. Some are in their acute stage, some are in their rehabilitative stage. We offer care based on their stage. Those in the rehabilitative stage, this is what we do. So you can go ahead.
Okay, so currently I work in a medical ward, and in the world we have different cubicles with patients of different conditions in different phases. While people in acute phase, those in recovery phase, and then people were in a rehabilitating phase, which is still in the same ward. So for patients in a rehabilitation phase, those patients are given special attention, and I care for them in a different way from the way I care for those in acute phase, saying that they are regaining their potentials, they are regaining their capabilities. So they need more care, and also their care now is sensitive, saying that they are trying to be independent back again. So caring for those patients is something that I don't I'm not in a haste to leave their presence, and
You're
okay,
going
good.
well. You're doing well. Just go on. You're doing well.
Okay, so I'm not in a haste to leave their presence. So can remember one of my patients, though she's fully recovered now. At that time, she was in this rehabilitation phase, and that was after having a condition that affected her mobility. So we are still trying to rehabilitate her. After then, she will tell me her stories, how she was still very energetic and all. And at the time, she will start crying and all. But sometimes it seems like, oh, I'm giving her more attention than the other person. But I understood the phase she was, and I know that that time I'm giving is very therapeutic, and giving that time helps her know that yes, the team is working with her and we want the best for her. And this helps her to build trust in the team, and involving other medical team to also know that the phase she is sensitive, helping her to achieve the best she can in that phase really helped her. And right now she's back on her feet, and she's very happy with the medical team that we did the best for her.
All right, good. So another thing you need to add is you tried, okay, although you had to first move from pillar to post before you found your bearing. Okay. So you need to, but that's also at times when you don't really know an answer, you can play around a bit in your head too. But keep
Okay.
talking. Just keep talking, but you are saying something and suddenly it just hits. The moment you just flow. Then, but remember, while you gave an example of a patient that cannot walk. So while you are also supporting the patient emotionally, you also need to support the patient independence, because rehabilitation is not just only about emotional support, but you are
Okay.
trying to ensure that the ability they have, they might not regain their full function, but as much as they can get, they at the end of the day regain it. So if there's anything you can do, even if it's to advocate for the patient, engage with the physical
Physiotherapy.
therapist, engage in random emotions, exercises, minor exercises that you can do, encourage the patient, offer pain medication to make the patient prepared ahead of time for their rehabilitation. Do you understand? So all these sort of things, preparing the patient, ensuring that the patient is like, if patient needs the patient feels more confident with the family being there, ensuring that okay, you could plan the time when the patient family is there to support the patient in the movement. So anything to encourage them to get back their independence as soon as possible, but also being patient, making the patient know that even if you make a mistake, it's okay to make a mistake. It's step by step, reassuring them that even if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. It's slowly you will get there. Being patient with them too is very important. So that's because they will ask you a question now, right? What do you know about rehabilitation?
Okay.
What is the role of a rehabilitation nurse? What is your strategy towards ensuring the patient gets the adequate rehabilitation? Okay. What
Yes.
if the patient relative, you're having a difficult patient and the patient is not cooperating with you in the rehabilitation phase? What will you do? Answer that question.
Okay. So, handling a difficult patient is one thing that as a nurse I encounter on a day-to-day activity while carrying my work as a nurse, because I know that each individual has their own qualities, and I need to understand that that patient is unique. And most times when we think someone is difficult is because we haven't understood that person. And if you give that person time to really understand the person, you see that the person is also easygoing. So in this case of a difficult patient, I've had a patient like that who later came back to be like, I love the way you do your things, and I think you're the best nurse for me. She came in, and I was about attending to her, and she was already like screaming at me. She don't want me. We cannot handle her case and all that. So I just kept mute because I don't really know what was the offense. Because I was thinking there was something on the line that was pissing her off, or maybe someone had made her angry where she was coming from, or something of that nature. So I didn't really start responding back to her. I just wanted to keep mute and then know what the issue was. So after a while, I sought for on an occasion to speak with her when I saw that she was calm. And I found out that as at that moment, she received an annoying call. So I think handling a difficult patient is understanding this your patient. Each individual is unique. Approach them in a unique way. And with that, they will be the best patient you can ever have. Thank you.
That's good. So I don't need to talk too much. And if there's any way you could also, maybe they still do not want you, did they need somebody else for you to ask them to come and support them as well too, you can go ahead and do that. So that's good. So that's so those are rehabilitation questions. So rehabilitation is all about you supporting the patient through their phase. So if you understand what rehabilitation is, answering the questions will not be difficult. Do you understand? What will you do if a
Yes.
patient is not making progress towards their treatment plan? You already know that it's supporting communication, guiding them, encouraging them. Do you understand? Finding what is the main problem. You understand? It could be maybe they've lost their motivation and all that. How will you manage chronic pain? How will you manage pain? So you need to go and learn about pain management as well too. Because there's no, especially
Okay.
for those that are having pain and maybe broke their leg, broke their hips and all that. You need to be able to prepare them, get their pain medication ahead of time. If it's not working, follow it up. Do you understand? And all that. What strategy will you use to keep track of a patient progress ahead of time? So it's all about knowing how to prioritize, organize, know how to prepare your patients, keeping detailed notes, keeping detailed file, documenting, knowing that, okay, yes, know how to know, okay, what was the patient's, when you resume, what's your patient, and you've taken the handover, review and note the patient's current stage, and then compare it to when you complete your task or your day and see how the progress has been ahead of time. Communicating, interacting with your patient, so you might get information from them to know how they feel compared to yesterday. How did they feel? You can also speak with the patient relative, who will also have an insight on how the patient is. So these are questions. Another one is how you will deal with ethical dilemmas relating to end of life for patients in rehabilitation. These patients are already going to die at end of life. So how will you deal with it? You need to go and browse on that and give an answer. So
Okay.
another question is, explain your understanding of the importance of self-care for nurses in this individual. That's how you can have a work-life balance, because rehabilitation can really take a toll on the nurse. Because while you are giving patients care and trying to encourage the patient, you yourself too might be feeling, oh, am I not doing it right? Is there something I'm doing? So how do you ensure that you give yourself self-care? It's also like going home, try to have a time out, focusing on yourself, try to eat well, have a work-life balance, take your annual leave, try to take a break, get enough sleep, do exercise. So those are ways to um or ensure you have self-care. So that's it for rehabilitation. Now for general nurses, somebody put
Thank
on the
you.
chat. You're welcome. For general, some put on chat that, please, I'm a general nurse. My interview is on medical and older patients. If your interview is on medical and older patients, you need to know how to recognize sepsis. Okay? Because especially for those two in the gastroenterology, you need to know how to recognize sepsis. How do you know a patient has sepsis? What are the signs? Low blood pressure, high temperature, urine smelling, the patient gets confused, high heart rate, the patient respiratory rate is high, low urine output. That's how you know a patient have sepsis. Because people are not answering my question, so I'll be giving you the answer. I would have loved to hear your answers, but you don't want to, so that's fine. You're too shy. But you don't know that interview. If you don't say it, how will you know it? See it, say it, pass your interview. That's how it is. How will you manage a patient with pressure ulcer? Elderly patients are prone to pressure ulcers. They are prone to it. How do you manage a patient like that? You need to ensure repositioning is done. Ensure there's no creases on the bed. Ensure there's good nutrition intake. ensure skincare is being done, hygiene is being maintained. If a patient have pressure sore, how will you manage? 2-hourly turn, nutrition involving other disciplinary team, covering them with pad, wound management, and all that. A patient has fall. How do you manage a patient has fall? Most elderly patients they are prone to falls. Whether they are confused or they cannot walk well because they're elderly. How will you manage the fall? How will you prevent falls? Ensuring the bed is at the low position, they have the good footwear. If they use walking aid, is close to them, giving them a call bell if they need, bringing their tables towards them, whatever thing they need, bring it towards them so that they don't need to stretch far. Always tell them, communicate with them and let them know that, okay, if you need something, let me know. Reorient them. At times, they might just forget where they are. Reorient them to time, place, and person. If the person has already fallen down already, try to ensure that when a patient fall down, no, in no way must you try to lift the patient up by yourself. No. Make sure you call for help. Number one, always check for scene safety. This question can be asked to anybody. If you notice a patient is on the floor, you go into the patient is on the floor, you need to check for scene safety. If the patient is alert and conscious, you need to check, is there any wound on the patient's body? When helpers, call for help. When helpers arrive, assist the patient back to the bed. Once you've assisted the patient back to the bed, you do obs on the patient, set of obs. Inform the patient family, inform the doctor to come and review the patient, because the doctor might want to send the patient for x-ray and all that to know if there's anything. Keep monitoring the patient at least to ensure that there's nothing wrong, or a patient maybe is not aftermath, that maybe the stuff will start showing. Do you understand? Then also, you now also need to observe the patient too. Observe the patient that, okay, and make sure that you also do incident form. You need to make sure you incident. Very important. These are key answers that they want to hear. Make sure you are doing incident answers, incident form, sending an incident answer. Do you understand? So these are ways to give that answer. Okay. Now, a patient, what are they calling it? So, pressure ulcer, falls. A patient is having shock. How do you recognize signs of shock? Low blood pressure. The difference between shock and sepsis is they might not put temperature there. So shock might just be low blood pressure, high heart rates, reduce urine output or something. You need to first check to know, okay, if you notice all that, especially if the patient just came back from surgery, that one, the lady that is going for gastroenterology, most of the time your patient might be coming back to your ward after surgery, and suddenly you observe the patient blood pressure is low, heart rate is high, the patient is going to Lulu, the patient is just like urine output is low, and you're supposed to be monitoring the urine output. How will you manage the patient? You need to assess your patient first. As a nurse, your first step towards your care is assessment. So that's what they always teach people as a nurse: assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation. If they ask you in any way, how do you carry out any nursing thing, make sure you use those 4 things to give your answer: assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation. How you assess your patient? You need to assess. You've done the obs, you check the wound site. Is there any leak? Is any place bleeding? Maybe the wound is bleeding, so that you go and quickly call the surgeons and all that. Or is it hypovolemic shock? Maybe the patient lost a lot of blood in the theater. Maybe the patient is dehydrated. You check for signs of dehydration. Once you've done that, you also plan. Do you need to take blood sample to send to the patient? You need to keep monitoring the patient all the time. You need to call the doctors to prescribe IV fluids, so that you run through IV fluids, which is management of the patient, giving IV fluids to the patients. If the patient doesn't have a cannula, you put in a cannula for the patient. Monitor the urine output. Monitor the patient closely. That way you manage shock. Okay, depends on the type of shock it is. If it's not fluid management, maybe the patient After you've given fluids and all that, you've maintained the output. Maybe the patient needs all this cardiac drug, then the doctors are already there, so they might give it or take the patient to the ward that gives that to manage the patient. Know how to manage sepsis. There's a way of managing sepsis. It's called the buffalo. You take bloods, you monitor the urine output, you monitor the fluid balance, you give antibiotics, you give antipyrexia like paracetamol if the blood temperature is high, you monitor the lactate, you give the patient oxygen. That's for the buffalo. Okay, so you need to know all this down. What will you do if a patient, or if you notice that a nurse have made a medication error? What will you do if you yourself make the medication error? You need to go and know, okay, when you've made medication error, inform the patient about it or stop the medication. Or maybe the patient is having anaphylactic reaction. How will you act towards it? You stop the medication, whether it's error or anaphylactic. Observe the patient, monitor the patient to be sure the patient is safe. Assessment of the patient, check the blood pressure and all that. Inform the patient what has happened. The patient wants to report, tell the patient the right channel to report. Make sure you do incident reports. If you need to improve on your knowledge, make sure you improve on knowledge. Call the doctors to come and review the patient just in case anything has happened so that they can quickly tackle it on time. Inform your nurse in charge as well too. Make sure you document incident reports and inform the family if the patient wants you to inform the family. Okay, these are things that you need to know, all this stuff. You know how to do drug calculation. They might ask you, you are prescribed 1,000 bag of normal saline, and you need to give that normal saline 8 hours. How will you give it? 1,000 divided by 8, that's 125. You give 125 mils per hour. Help them correct though. Yeah, so you just divide it and get your answer, and that's what you give. You're supposed to give 100 milligram and you have 50 milligram tablets. How many will you give? Obviously, it's 2. So you need to know your drug calculation. For those that said, someone said she is a nurse in trauma-related question, neurosurgical question, GCS assessments. You need to assess patient GCS. Okay, you need to know how to assess your patient GCS and all that. When a patient is traumatized, how will you note sign of hypovolemic shock? A patient just came into the ward. How can you triage your patients? What's your first step towards the patient having chemical burn? So these are little things you need to know. You need to go to the job description and look for the certain conditions that they said that they want the patient to take care of, and they'll be able to know how to attend to the person. So I believe we've been here for, it's almost 11 p.m. in Nigeria, almost 10 p.m. We've been here since like I think 8 o'clock or so. So I believe we've done a lot. I might not have covered your department fully in details, right? But you can go ahead and do a bit more reading. Please speak out when you are asked to. Be confident, just be calm. It's just an interview, it's not the end of the world. And anything you don't understand, tell them, please, can you come again? All right, thank you very much, everyone, for this interview section. It's been a pleasure being with you guys during this period of time. And I wish you all success. Please remember, if you've done your interview, please put your questions on your group. You might just be the first person to do an interview in that hospital. You might be helping people in the future. Help others as others have helped you. Thank you very much and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You really done
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Bye.
for Mrs. Happiness, please congratulations in advance, because I know with this calmness carry, you will pass it, you will make it. So congrats.
Amen.
All the best. Maintain the faith. You did very well.
And she did. She really smashed it. So success. Okay.
Success.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank
Congratulations
you.
in advance. Bye bye.